All right. Hello, everybody. How are y'all
Hello.
doing?
Great.
Uh, Today, we have our special guests, Blake and Jen Graves. Some of y'all may know them. Others who don't, y'all gonna meet them and learn all kinds of cool stuff this evening. Um, just a couple things right before we get started. Like I always talk about, U.S. art. It's very, very important. They're the only ones that got our back. Um, So if you're able to become a member, try to get others to become a member. If you're at a show and you see their table, donate some money, uh, even if it's $1. If you don't want to, like I said, if you don't want to be a member, maybe buy a T-shirt, buy a sticker, something. Um, all the support, is welcome and whatnot. Um, that being said, I'm gonna hand it off to Blake and Jen, and they're gonna give us a little background, a little history on them, and then we'll get off on some other topics. So, Blake, Jen, it's your show.
Ladies first.
How about you guys
Um,
introduce yourselves and where you're from?
well, I'm Blake, and this is Jen. And originally, Jen is from Colorado, and I grew up in Wyoming, southeast Wyoming. And she's in northern Colorado. We now reside in Texas, not too far from Mr. Mitchell these days. So um, we left your cold weather up there with you, Chip.
We were done.
Um, yes, we both have been animal people for pretty much our whole lives. That's actually how we ended up meeting and ended up married. Um, and
Had a lot of mutual friends tell me that this guy was a good dude. So
as for me, I started with reptiles pretty young. My brother and I used to go catch snakes and frogs and lizards and whatever we could get a hold of. And we'd hold on to them for a couple days until Dad made us let them go. And that was kind of where it started. Um, as far as keeping exotics and all that kind of stuff, I didn't really have the opportunity to do that until I was an adult and out of the house because Mom didn't want anything to do with that in her house. So I would say I'm primarily a snake guy. Love my retics. Love a lot of them, but retics definitely hold a big spot in my heart. Started working with ball pythons originally, some boas. Of course, I've gone through the rigmarole and from species to species and just finding what was my passion. Landed on retics for a long time. All probably started in about 2008. I started to get somewhat serious about all of it and trying to breed and do all that fun part of the hobby. And been rolling ever since then. So
I've had reptiles ever since I was a kid. I was allowed to have everything except for snakes. So I had lizards and tortoises and turtles and all kinds of stuff. I didn't get my first snake till I was probably 17, somewhere around there. Had one ever since, but it was the one thing I was not allowed to have in the house. So I'd go catch them outside, but that was about the extent of it. So
That's awesome. Sounds good. That's pretty much, I think, how all of us started. Um, but I would like to know. Um, so when it comes to retics, what was it that drew you to them? Did you see them at a zoo? Did you see them in a book, or you
I
know?
saw them online first. Honestly, I just saw pictures of them, and I liked the kind of red, like the orange eyes, I guess, of just like the plain old normals. My first one was an albino, but just the different colors that they came in. Obviously, the size was fascinating to me. And then just how intelligent they are. Once I started with one and then just actually getting to work with them, I was just kind of addicted to them after that. So
Orange ass eyes.
me too.
I saw my first one at an expo, and I started digging and looking, and the first ones I ever looked up online were actually sunfires, and I had no idea what in the fuck a sunfire actually even entailed. But I can't even remember who it was now that had to post the picture up. But them orange eyes, and I was like, I was sold on orange eyes and giant snakes. And so I personally have never been too much into the super dwarf thing. For me, I'm somewhat of a purist, and I like the big animals. Like I want some giants. I want some Steve Dawson giants, some Wolfgang giants, some of that stuff. That's the aim and the goal.
Yeah, that's something I got me stuttering over there, because I think it's when you're talking about big snakes and big retics in general, there's not that many.
Yeah.
There's not that many in captivity. There's I know a few people that have like some true big ones. One of them is that guy Chip right there. But there's a lot of myths and legends and whatnot around these animals and whatnot, and you don't see a whole lot of really true big retics anymore. And
You get a lot of people claiming them and thinking they have them.
I was gonna say, and then when you do say you've got a big one, people don't believe that you've got the size that you have because they're not that common.
The biggest animal that we have kept personally she was right between 18 and 19 feet probably, and in her peak before she started to decline, we lost her just this last year. She was about 20 years old, but she was probably 200, maybe 200 plus pounds, so a fairly large animal. But I would love to see something push over the 20-foot mark in our
It is
collection.
a giant difference. People, you would think just a foot, 19 to 20 foot, but it is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Definitely.
all right, at the end of the day, a 16, 17 foot animal is a big foot. That's a big snake.
Oh yeah.
That's a big snake, and a lot of people, they see something like that and it's 20 foot. Man. No, bitch.
No.
It's
But
not. It's
same
not even.
same thing. The jump from 16, 17 foot to 18 or 19 foot is a massive difference in animals. It's insane how different they actually are and much bigger it really seems. So.
Well, that's why you can go to most zoos and they'll have a little plaque saying 20-foot retic or 20-foot berm. But if you've ever seen a true giant, that snake's probably not over 16 foot, but to the common person, that looks like a 20-foot animal.
Yep. So fingers crossed, we've got some stuff hopefully that will surpass that 20-foot mark. We're hopeful. So.
And we'll be getting into that soon. Well, speaking of that, I would like to know pretty much. Well, I mean, anybody that's looking at this video and has read the title of it pretty knows what the topic is. But from what I understand, one of your favorite localities would be the Sula locality, and
absolute favorite.
What is it about that locality that you love so much?
I was first just fell in love with them when I first saw Noda Howe's pictures of Sula retics, and the coloration, the patterning, just like everything about them was just, I don't know, it sucked me in and had me from the very first picture, and I had wanted some for a very long time. And they were very scarce. And then, my man, Mr. Mitchell, managed to make some stuff happen, and we were fortunate enough to end up with a pair of animals from one of the breedings, and that started an adventure. So
I don't know, I'm just fascinated, like, just with their pattern and their color. Like, they're gorgeous.
Yep. I mean, that's the same thing for me. I mean, uh, I saw a picture of a jamp and a picture of a sula, and in a book, and I was like, holy shit, you know,
Yeah.
and it was over. It was over, over and done with. Um, so when it comes to I don't know, it's just something about Chip will probably talk about this because, or once we start getting into it, I'm sure he'll talk about it because we both feel the same way. Um, there's like this mystical type of shit that goes with this locality, these legends of these animals. So that drew me to him as well. And Mr. Blake right there talking about how he likes the big snakes and whatnot. So there's always been these legends about sulas being like the largest snake and whatnot, and as can they get big? By all means. There's been some big ones that we've seen and whatnot, but there's other localities that get just as big and possibly even bigger,
Oh, yeah.
and as I have myself and others have, we've been in this hobby for years and years and years. You're constantly learning things and whatnot. So there's, like I said, there's like this legend with that animal, that locality that draws that has always drew me to them. And I'm sure a lot of people. But at the end of the day, uh, that's pretty much what it is. It's just the legend of the Sula.
Yeah.
yeah,
Of that locality. I mean, not knocking them and not taking anything away from them because you know, uh, you spoke about Steve Dawson and whatnot. There's two animals up the Chip. Let me know if I'm saying that, if I'm telling this right or not. But uh, some of those animals from that first breeding went overseas, went over there, and Steve had actually told Chip that he has seen them with his own eyes, but they were about 20 foot. So
Yeah.
those came from that first
20 to
breeding. So that's pretty
20
cool.
to 21 foot. Yeah, they are traced back directly to James. And they are still alive to this day.
So that's pretty cool just to know that, hopefully one day I can get with him and hopefully he can get some pictures of them and,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
send them to me and whatnot. But what else?
a proud papa moment right there.
Yeah. So I'll go. I'll talk about a little bit about the history of the Sulas that I got. So I can't remember what year. Chip probably knows what year it is, what year it was, but I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I had got them from Nerd. Now years and years ago, Nerd actually had a successful breeding, but these animals did not come from any breeding that Nerd had done. These actually came from the island. They were, they got some wild caught ones in, and I was able to get some from that shipment. And of course, I was stoked, to have something like that. And um, like even now, y'all know, most people know that they're a hard locality to find, especially now that we can't get anything overseas. So the animals that we have here in the United States, I mean, that's pretty much that's what we got, you know. But yeah, I uh I raised them up and everything, and I had a good friend of mine, Jason, that we were partners and whatnot, and we took them with some other animals uh, from my place and took them up there for breeding purposes. And Jason got them to breed. So, you know, and I want to get some stuff cleared and gets off my chest a little bit too, you know, because you know everybody says when it comes to those certain animals, people always say the reed line, and I guess at the end of the day, that's fine. With things that have happened in the last few years, it irritates me a little bit because those animals did not belong to him; they belong to me. I bought them, I raised them, you know, uh, and I'm not knocking his knowledge. He's very knowledgeable. He knows how to take care of these animals. He knows what he's doing when it comes to breeding and whatnot. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I get irritated when people say read line just because of certain things that have happened. Because in the way I look at it and the way I feel about things, if the animals don't belong to you, you have no right to name shit. You know, and that's just the way it is. You know, and nobody can make me think differently. And I guess a lot of people at the time didn't realize that those animals belonged to me. With a bunch of other animals. But anyhow, getting off topic, but I want people who watch this know that Breedline can fuck off. That's all I can say about that. Those animals belong to me. Uh, so
We've hit a breakthrough.
Hey,
that's it.
you know, we love our Mitchell line animals.
We always throw your name in there.
But
Whenever we
that being
discuss them,
said,
whenever we discuss them and somebody asks, it's always Reed/Mitchell line animals because, well,
People
for the
know.
simple fact, everybody knows them
Yeah.
as Reed lines. So, but I always try to give you your due props.
I've always been a humble type of guy when it comes to this because it's not about fame or fortune or nothing like that when it comes, to me. And if it wasn't for my good friend Chip down there, he's basically opened my eyes to a lot of shit. When all that stuff was going on, I didn't really care about any of that. I was just having a good time and I was just happy to be part of it. You know what I mean? But now with certain events that have happened over the last, few years and stuff like that, it just, leaves a bad taste in my mouth about certain things. But anyhow, so we got them to breed and whatnot. And I couldn't tell you, I couldn't tell you how many of those babies are still alive. Anybody who, I don't know of anybody who has them, except for y'all. And y'all bought that pair from who'd y'all get them from?
We actually ended up picking them up from Jaden Hartman. He received them on a trade, and well, they're assholes, and he didn't want to deal with them, so we got in touch with him, and he sold us the pair for a ridiculous deal, and they have been with us ever since. I think at that point they were probably only about maybe 5 or 6 foot animals when we first got them. So
I just want to say real quick, they're really not that bad.
Oh no.
that's because you keep telling me that you don't really handle her much. But if you put your hands on her, you'll start singing a new song.
Well, every time when I pull her out to clean the cage and stuff like that, or when my dipshit son forgets to put the damn lock on the cage and she gets out, Let's knock on wood.
She's just luring you in. She's faking you out. Is what she did. She did it to me too.
Oh, she's sold there for a while.
So, but then once she showed me her true colors, all bets were off for the rest of the time that she's been with us. So,
But you know what to expect from her, so it's kind of one of those things. I feel like the male sometimes is a little more unpredictable. Like sometimes he's okay, sometimes he's kind of not. With her, you just go in just expecting it right away, and
yeah, she's always been my no complacency snake. She's the one that keeps me from doing dumb things.
Well, and a little bit about that. So Blake you're injured still. You have a shoulder injury and whatnot, and basically when that happened, you got in touch with me and asked me if I would help out and take over the care with him until, especially until you get back to being healthy and whatnot, which I'm extremely happy about just because of the history of the animals and everything that has happened in the past to have some F1 sulas, in my grasp again, being able to work with them means a lot. And I really appreciate that from y'all. You really don't, it's hard to explain like how, what that means, to me with everything that's happened and whatnot. So it's a pleasure to be dealing with these animals, whether they're honorary or not. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So it is.
We couldn't be happier that we actually live close enough to you that they had somewhere to go in the situation. Just because they are ornery and a lot to handle, and with the injury I sustained, it was rapidly became apparent that it was not going to be a safe situation for me to try to work them, and it's nice to know that they're somewhere that they're going to be loved and cared for and taken care of the way that they need to be, and extra bonus that they're some of your F1 animals that I don't, to my knowledge, I only know of one other one that is around. So,
Where's that?
Travis Knoll has an F1 Sula from that line. So he's a good friend of ours, actually. So he picked it up from Chris White. But she's a big girl. She's bigger than ours by far. So, but she's also in very good, capable hands. It's nice to see her where she's at. He's enthralled with that animal. So, glad to see her where she's at also. But,
so before we get into the nitty gritty, the good stuff, the real good stuff, Chip, you have anything that you want to add? Anything that you remember in the past that I don't remember, or anything like that, or any questions?
You actually went off on your tangent there for a little bit that I was going to interject in, so I'm very proud of you. So I'm glad that came out finally. I'm very happy to hear that. No, I want to just when you keep on going. The stuff is you guys are covering it. We're getting on down to the interesting parts now.
Well, I think for me, Chip's been in my ear for a very long time about certain things.
I've been around since, before Reed was ever someone that everybody knew. And I knew of James before I ever knew of Jason.
And, so like I said, he's helped me kind of like see things and then, I guess in the right way. And then I guess Weston's video yesterday that I watched, and that just kind of, I was like, no, fuck all this Reed shit. But anyhow, so
No, I I got an earful of it on the phone when I called you to ask about it, just because I told you the text message that I got from Weston, what he said, and I got a God damn it, it's not a read line. just
What?
just verbatim here, okay?
Well, I mean, just think about it, okay? So Chip has a group of animals, okay? They could be anything. It don't matter what it is. Just example. Chip has a group of animals. He's good friends with y'all. For whatever reason, this group of animals go to your place for breeding purposes, okay? The animals don't belong to y'all. He didn't sell them to y'all. He didn't give them to y'all
Right.
or anything like that. He's raised them up all the way to adults, to them being sexually mature and whatnot. And y'all do something with them. Y'all breed them. Y'all make whatever it is, and you become retic famous or whatever. And the animals don't belong to you. You don't get any babies from the motherfuckers. You don't get, Chip don't get any babies. You don't get anything, nothing. And, we got these amazing animals, these babies everywhere. And hey, look, man, it's the Blake line. It's the Jen line, all this shit. And it goes on for years and years and years and stuff like that. And those animals never belonged to you. It was never sold to you or anything like that. I mean, at the end of the day, in all reality, it's just they're sulas. They're a locality.
Mhm.
We're not reinventing the wheel. The wheel has never been reinvented by breeding these animals. So I'm not even sure that we should be calling them a certain line. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, to some extent, credit where credit is due. They have proven to not be an easy locality to actually reproduce, for one thing. And as we know, and you know, and very few others know, babies are
Not easy.
not easy to start. It's legitimately is a whole different animal from any other retics that we've ever worked with. I know that. And I know from other, times that we've talked, you are on that same exact page. And so, I mean, in my eyes, like I said, credit where credit is due.
I agree.
So, I mean, to stick your name to it, to something that you worked that hard and you figured out and you learned how to keep and actually get to breed and reproduce, where many, many, many others have failed, that's saying something. So,
Well, like I said, it's not all about that shit, to me. It never has been. It's just like for me, my history about, falling in love with this species of python and whatnot. I went a very, very well, in my opinion, I went a very, very long time. Uh, I mean, Chip knows because he was doing the same thing. Back in the day, the only thing you could get, there wasn't captive bred shit. If you had one of these animals, it came. We didn't know what island it came from. We really didn't even know what fucking localities were to a certain extent back then. We had yellowheads, and we didn't even know what they were. They just had yellow heads, and then we had like these silver looking shits, that were cool looking. They were all wild caught, and majority of them were just fun to play with. Let's put it that way. And like for me, the thought of breeding came several years after keeping and messing with them. And it had nothing to do with selling babies or anything like that. There wasn't books, there wasn't the internet. What books there were, very little information.
Yeah,
So, you know, you learned on the fly.
Figure it out as you go.
You know, there was very few people that were dealing with them. So if you were able to find somebody, then y'all would talk and you would exchange, you know, knowledge and whatnot, things and whatnot, and that's how that's how you learn. You know,
the whole myth of retics getting 30-foot long started in a book that wasn't even technically Guinness, even though it took it over, of the hunter that killed the 32 point whatever foot retic on Sulawesi. But if anybody's ever read the true story instead of buying into it, you can tell it was a made up number. But, I mean, but the whole thing started because it was written down by a hunter from England, went down, killed this animal, and it was 32 foot long. So therefore, across the board, every reticulated python can get 30 to 40 feet long. And that's what you grew up knowing. That's
Oh,
before
yeah. I mean, I think we all know that story, you know, and I think, you know, that was one of the fascinating things about retics. Like, it's the longest species of snake on the world, you know, and it's crazy how far that on a whole it's come, you know, between the dwarf and the super dwarf animals and all these island localities, and like the major differences that we now have come to understand in them is just, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So
oh yeah, I mean it is it's amazing. It's truly amazing what we know now about these animals, and like I was like saying earlier, like I wasn't even when I got to the point that I was wanting to actually try breeding them. It wasn't about selling anything. It was just that I was trying. To me, that was part of the process of learning and gathering knowledge about these animals. It had nothing to do with trying to make money or anything like that. You know.
I'm sure you thought, who wants these mean ass little animals?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because like back then, I mean, like if there was a reptile show, you go to the reptile show, you really didn't see retics or anything like that, and then on top of that, you a lot of us thought we were probably the only crazy son of bitches that were dealing with them. We didn't know that there were other crazy people like us, you know, that like dealing with this type of shit. So you know, so all that being said, uh, Mr. Blake and Miss Jen right there, um, are part of the what's the word? Part of the uh, fraternity when it comes to breeding these animals, which is very very cool. Um, and like I touched on at the beginning of this, this is a pretty much it's a very very well loved liked animal locality. A lot of people, oh yeah, I want a sula, this and that, and and they're hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
They are that.
And the few people that actually have these animals, this locality in their collection, are, I feel, in my opinion, are very lucky. To hell, even like Chip has some certain localities, and you know he's very lucky, you know, to be able to work with those. Um, but that being said, there's a couple other people. Nick in California. He has some sulas. I think everybody, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people who try to keep up with certain localities and whatnot. They probably know who Nick is, and they know who Wolfgang is. Um, and it wasn't not too long ago, a few months ago, Nick produced a clutch of sulas.
Yeah, I believe it
So
was in December. I believe it was when they hatched.
yeah, and that being said, so we have the the bloodline that we have here in Texas, and then you have what they have in California, which, like you just said, that Nick was able to produce them and hatched out eggs back in December. Um, Blake and Miss Jen over here um, was able to. Uh, I guess I'll let y'all talk about it. Talk about that part about how y'all got with Nick and everything and got a relationship going and whatnot, and was able to do what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, initially I got a hold of Nick and I just congratulated him on them. When he first posted them up, I was very excited to see that somebody else had finally
Yeah.
actually, been able to produce some. I've been hoping for a long time, just because obviously, like we have a pair of F1s from one line, and obviously breeding and breeding and breeding the same stuff together is not a healthy and or feasible, like long term thing. We personally, honestly, decided not to breed them again after the two clutches that we produced, just for that sheer fact. We didn't want to put a bunch of related animals, out into the world to be more related animals come out of them. It just seemed like an irresponsible thing to do. We wanted to have some of them so that they're at least would continue in the United States, as it were. Um, so, of course, we were excited just to have been able to actually get it done. To my knowledge, it had been the first time since y'all's breeding, which I think was about 8 years prior, or somewhere about in that realm of time, which was, these animals were that old when they first produced, which was crazy.
That's another thing we kind of noticed too.
We tried to breed them much earlier than that, and with no success. So, but it was unbelievably exciting to see Nick produce them. And I got a hold of him and I just congratulated him. And we started, talking back and forth. And through all of it, developed a friendship in there. And he was kind enough to give us the opportunity, along with James, um, to work with a couple of the animals that he produced. And so we are now the very, very, very proud owners of two Sula retics from a completely unrelated line of animals. And we now have some hope for continuation of that locality within the United States, which is huge as far as we're concerned. So
it is. It's very huge, and then on top of that, they said, unfortunately, I was lucky. I guess lucky because of your injury, but it's not. I'm sorry you got hurt, buddy. Um, to to be close enough to help out and be able to work with some animals that came from my original wild caught sulas from back in the day. And just like you, over a certain period of time, I've been able to, I guess, basically through Chip. So I need to thank Chip for this. Um, uh, Through Chip's relationship with Wolfgang and Nick, I was able to to get get a relationship, a friendship with Nick as well. And I have an unrelated male here from everything that I will be doing my damnedest to be putting him with the female, uh, which that's one, two, what, three different
Three,
lines,
three different lines.
three different lines right there. So it's gonna happen. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. So
Between the lot of us here, we've got a pretty good pile of sulas hanging around. Because I know that you have a male from our original clutch that we produced. The pair that of adults that produce them that are with you at the moment, and then we also have a holdback pair from the first clutch that we produced that
which are gorgeous.
here with us. So between all of us here, Texas is doing pretty well on Sula locality. I feel so.
yeah, I got to thank y'all, for I guess loving that locality as much as you do, and being able to come across that deal and getting that pair and whatnot, and then it was a long road, but figuring it out and getting them to breed, and then I got it, like, once again, have to thank Chip, because through his relationship with those guys in California, I was able to get an unrelated adult male in my possession. And then once again, with your injury, able to get those F1s over here. And like I said, hopefully it's going to happen. Well, it's not hopefully, it's going to happen. Just don't know when. You know how these animals are. This unrelated male that I got from Nick, the plan is to get him to do his business with that female, and strengthening up the bloodline. And we have that going. And then y'all have two females unrelated. So we got a long ways to wait,
Yep.
for them to get the age and size and whatnot. And we all know that it could be anywhere from 3 years to 8 years or whatever before they decide they want to do something.
Well, that's
But
interesting. It seems like they go a little bit later than some of the other retics do. So we had tried pairing them, but they were what, 6, 7 by the time they went the first time.
I think they were 7 years old by the time the first breeding.
And it wasn't from lack of trying. They just weren't ready to go yet. So
I'm pretty sure that the pair that you guys got that were from James's original breeding, I should have checked my notes. It's been a hectic time. But I'm pretty sure the animals that were in your possession are over 12 years old.
Huh.
oh, see, we didn't know that.
That I didn't know.
I have the pictures of babies. I have the pictures of the babies.
When we were talking about it, I actually, if you remember, Blake, I said I thought there might be about 10.
Yeah.
Then they were like, well, maybe they're 8 or whatever. But yeah, this is where I keep Chip around.
And
then I have the actual pictures from when James, back when before Facebook, he would post on the forums and stuff. And I remember Reed or James, I can't remember who posted it, but of all the babies in the tub of when they just come out of the eggs. And I'm pretty sure it was about 12 years ago.
Huh.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy they were that small when we got them, man. That kind of blows my mind. But
well, I don't it seems like I remember the name, but I don't really remember. I'm trying to think about, when you're dealing with wild caught animals, and then 9 times out of 10, F1s are pretty much just like the parents. You know what I mean? Um, if the previous owner of those, if they made him nervous, they tend to not get the correct care.
That's very true.
Unfortunately, uh, when it comes to retics, when it probably comes with a lot of things, not just reptiles, but all kinds of different animals and stuff. But especially when it comes to reptiles, and especially reticulated pythons, there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying this. I don't think I'm anybody. I'm not special, nothing like that, and I'm not a badass or nothing. I'm not better than anyone either. But there's a lot of people that they're attracted to the size of these animals and whatnot, and they think they can do things and they think they can handle certain situations, but in all reality, they can't. And they find out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's pride or whatever, they tend to wait a little bit too long to make the right decision to put them in the right hands that I can actually give them the correct care that they need. And that's I'm not knocking anybody by no means, but there's not a whole lot of us anymore that are still in a hobby that actually started out with wild caught animals. And I bring that and I say that, and the reason why I say that is because you think about how long captive born bred, captive born hatched retics have been around now, right? And Chip and I, we talk about this all the time and whatnot, and there's a lot of people in this hobby, and I'm not trying to knock anybody. I know how it's probably going to sound or come across, and at the end of the day, really don't give a fuck. Just take it however you want to, I guess. But there's a lot of people that have knowledge and have a lot of hands-on experience with long-term captive bred animals, and like I say all the damn time, dealing with an animal that's captive born bred, dealing with an animal like that that's in a defensive mode or might be aggressive or whatever, is totally fucking different than dealing with a wild caught animal that's being defensive or that's being aggressive.
Absolutely.
And it's two different things. And a lot of people who supposedly are experts can't even tell the difference between something being defensive or being aggressive or being cage aggressive or whatever. You know what I mean?
I really
There's
think
a
the
lot
word aggressive when it comes to them, because a lot of times they are just being defensive.
and the thing about you dealing with an animal that's acting that way, if you're not confident in yourself and with your knowledge on how to handle an animal like that, something bad's gonna happen. You're gonna get fucked up. The animal's gonna get fucked up. Everybody gonna get fucked up. And I just, it's my opinion that a lot of people in this hobby, they can't. I honestly don't believe they can handle an animal like that. Those two sulas that are in my snake room right now, there's a lot of people that couldn't handle them some bitches. I just, that's just my opinion. I'm probably hitting the nail on the head with that, but I don't want to try not to come across like it's fact, but it probably is.
Yep.
Well, also, real quick, just to point this out, being that everybody here has had their hands on locality animals and your morphs, if you truly watch locality or wild caught animals, if you spend time with it, genuine time with it, not just cage cleaning, in my opinion, they are smarter. Now, is that because morphs have genes that aren't made to be in the wild and their brain pan is different, and albinism really can screw up things or whatever? I don't know. Probably, but I don't know. But if you literally look at these pure locality animals and wild caught animals, they're just like dogs and cats. They're thinking all the time. If you make the wrong move, or if you do the wrong thing, or if you're not watching how they are, if you're not interacting with them correctly, they're going to act accordingly. They're very, very, very smart animals, and they know what you're doing, and they know who you are.
Well, and they can tell if you're nervous around them too. It's like you've got to be confident when you're working with them, and like they can pick up on that. So, and I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Well, I agree with Jen. I agree with everything that everybody's saying. And just to touch on what Jen is saying is that there's a lot of people that are confident with these long-term captive born bred, animals that have been captive born bred for generations. Like once again, that's a different animal, different behavior, way different behavior. It is what it is. Like I said, I'm not trying to come across. I'm not an expert by no means, but I know what I fucking know. That's all. I mean, that's the only way I know how to explain it. I know what I know. That doesn't mean that I'm right about it, but I know what I know.
Well, and I mean, I guess to touch on it, when I first started and I was researching, as we used to do back in the day, we used to actually do our own research and figure things out before the age of Facebook. And retics, everything that you ever read about them was this was for expert keepers only, expert keepers only, expert keepers only. And when I finally dove into it, and I bought my first retic, and it was a male because, well, males stay smaller. And he hit, I think, 13 feet in a year. And it was a learning experience, but I grew with the animal, and he was never nasty or anything like that. And for a long time, I didn't really get why they considered them for expert keepers, really, until I came into possession of those two sulas that are with you right now, and the female in particular, because that female in particular
is special.
She is, no joke, backed me up 10 feet, stretching out of the holding tub that she was in while I was cleaning her box, standing half her body length out of the tub, telling me no, that I was not getting close to her and I was not touching her. And we had to have a discussion and come back to grips with the reality that, like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to do this. And she finally allowed me to at least get her going back into her enclosure. But that animal, on more than one occasion, has reminded me of my place and, why reticulated pythons, any of them, I honestly believe, have the expert keeper level on them. It's not necessarily that they're particularly nasty all the time, but
they can
if you don't know how to react in a situation and be able to stay calm in the situation when it does go wrong, you very well could be in a whole lot of trouble. So,
well, you definitely have to give them a whole lot of respect, whole lot of respect. And you can never get, I don't care, like even with long-term captive bred animals, you should never be complacent with them. Don't be scared, don't be fearful, but don't become complacent. Just because anything can happen. They're not like your dog that wags their tail because they're happy or whatever. You can tell when your dog or cat or whatever the shit is sick or happy or whatever the case may be. When it comes to reptiles, you have to pay close attention and learn them in and out and see the little details that they do give you, and you can't be complacent with them, always respect them. And
I feel like body language is huge with them.
But there's people like Chip, myself, you, that there's, I don't know, maybe there might be a little bit of crazy in this. I don't know, because there's a lot of times I'm like, I don't really think about it because I'm so used to, because I've been doing it so long, dealing with these animals. So it's just second nature. It's not that big a deal. But sometimes when you stop and you think about it, you go like, what the fuck am I thinking about? Why do I like this so much?
I
What the
mean,
shit's going on?
all the
You know,
people that I work with think that I'm absolutely nuts. So,
I work for John Deere. Think of how they look at me.
have you been to Southeast Texas?
well,
This is the epitome of the part of the world where the only good snake is a dead snake.
Unless it's a
And
king snake.
yeah, unless
If
it's a
it's a
king
king
snake,
snake, it's
because
good.
king snakes eat other snakes. That's the only reason
Bull
king
snakes
snakes are
are
allowed.
really good because they eat other snakes.
But yeah, it's crazy. It gets irritating. But I continually always am trying to educate all of the people who are ignorant about it. And not like I say ignorant. Some people take offense to that. Ignorance just means that you don't know, like you've never been educated about it. So, and there are plenty of people that don't, and it creates a
but
fearful situation. So
it takes us crazy people to try to educate others and try to change the view on these animals, which is desperately needed.
I agree.
really,
And with all reptiles in general, but especially when it comes to large constrictors, um, trying to show them in a different light. You don't We don't need to lie about them. We don't need to make up shit to try to make them look a certain way, but majority of us realize that they're not as bad, even close to being as bad as what others think. You know, Hell, people that are in the community, not necessarily the large constrictor community, but just the reptile community, you know, don't really understand and say negative things. So, I guess, it takes people like us who, like I said, others think that we're crazy in hell, batshit crazy, um, to do what we do to try to once again educate people and whatnot and shed light on the situation, which is good. And that's part of like me doing this, having this podcast and or making videos and whatnot and talking about anything and everything, you know, retic wise, Um, I don't like I don't knock anybody can do what they want to do and that's fine, but you know, that's why I keep Chip around because like I said, he's like a walking encyclopedia. He remembers every fucking thing. I don't. Uh I used to drink way too much and do other shit way too much. But anyhow, but no, I agree 100%, I mean, she gives me this look, you know, and I
you
like it though.
you can see
I
the spring loaded behind her.
I,
You can just
I love
you can see the tension build up in her entire body as she just sits and starts to contemplate whether or not she can knock the crap out of you.
oh yeah, she does. She'll give me that look, and I think it's kept. Oh, look at you being all cute and shit. You know, uh, but it is what it is. When it comes to that, that's just part of it. When you're dealing with these kind of animals, especially animals like these that are like these are F1s and whatnot. So that's just part of it. You got to love it. You got to have a passion. You know, uh, I
Meanwhile, I
go.
sit over here and my two biggest sweetheart snakes that I have out that are really, really big are wild caught direct from the jungle.
Oh yeah.
One day, Chip is going to take some videos or take some good pics and blow people's minds with some of the shit because Chip is on the most part is kind of quiet, kind of stays in the back,
I
and
know.
people don't realize what Chip has, what Chip knows. They'll learn one fucking day. Um, But no, the thing, touch back on the sulas and the uh we have been lucky enough to like have these relationships and be able to get what we have here in Texas. And I know, like Weston, he's got some stuff that he's doing some stuff and he's going to be doing his thing, which is good.
No, did you see the head on that one female? Oh, the one that came from us? The head
Yeah.
on that animal was just like my mind was blown.
Yeah.
Absolutely blown. Sorry.
Yeah.
I had to interject. I was like, that made my day completely. Just
She's
like,
gorgeous.
oh my God.
Stock. Holla. So everybody, I'll pat myself, you pat yourself.
It's not even me. It just is what it is. Sometimes I think about, it's like, oh, I produced this, and it's like, I didn't produce it. Those animals that are at your house produced it, and it just
We just feed them and clean them and
and try not to die sometimes. But I mean,
it's
it
still
just was like absolutely mind blowing to me, like the way that animal is growing up and how it is looking, and we're unbelievably happy that she's in great hands, obviously. But it just,
yeah.
I just had to throw that out there because
when you have a true passion, like all of us do, and when we look at these animals for what they really are, and not just a dollar sign, or fame, or a fucking like, or a heart, or whatever else that people get, you know what I mean? When you look at them for the reason that we're dealing with them, we have a true passion for these animals and everything like that. So that you have a lot to be proud of. Plain and simple, when it takes a lot of money and a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, and sometimes maybe a little bit of blood every now and again, just a little bit, not, no big deal. We put into taking care of these animals, and trying to do the best that we possibly can to give them the best life that we can possibly give them and whatnot. And when we get to that point where we actually see them reproducing and whatnot and going through that whole stage of them doing their thing, then them laying the eggs and then pulling the eggs, which are always fun. And then the
good.
whole incubation,
Good luck on that.
process, the whole incubation process, and then when they pip and everything, it's amazing.
It's an amazing thing to be a part of, for sure.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like it's some of the coolest experiences that we go through, that we have being as keepers, and when in other people, they can do whatever they want and look at the animals that they're their animals. Whatever they do is whatever they do. But once again, I always repeat myself and I apologize, but when you have a real passion about these animals and you love them for what they are, and you go through that whole process and everything, it's amazing. And you're a part of something that's pretty rare here in the United States. Well, anywhere actually, really, if you think about it. And you should be excited when you see somebody that has an animal that came from your place, and it's a beautiful animal, you know.
Yeah.
You should feel that way, plain and simple. You should feel that way. Um, it's different when we look at these animals the way we do, because it's not just a dollar, all that, the money that comes with it. If you're able to make any kind of money with it, that's a plus. It's a bonus. You're able to buy a bigger cage, with it. Able to buy some more feeders or whatever the case may be.
That's a big one.
But You know,
All these beef feeders.
it's I mean, it's like, you know, Chip knows what I'm thinking. Well, everybody right here in this group right knows what we're talking about, knows what I'm talking about, because we all feel the same way about these animals. Chip over the years have had, you know, he doesn't talk about it, he doesn't post pics and stuff like that, but over the years, that man has had, uh, he's had a couple clutches over the years, and whatnot. So it's a certain feeling that you get, you know, and it's just amazing, especially when you're dealing with, once again, when you're dealing with animals that are fairly rare,
Mhm.
especially here in the United States, and when you know you can't get these damn things, at least you can't get them legal. You know, legally you can't get them. So what we're doing is really important to keep this locality going here in the States. Um,
In a healthy manner.
Yes.
exactly, in a healthy manner, you know. Um, they deserve a certain, well, I think retics in general deserve a certain respect, you know. But the locality, you know, they deserve something, and you should treat them as
And
such.
also, if you do make babies, do not need to be going to just anybody.
And I guess we could touch on that too. We got to wait till it happens again. But when it does, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people sending text messages, emails, messages, all kinds of shit. And I can't, you know, other people can do whatever the shit they want. But being as rare as they are, and whatnot, and as hard as they are to reproduce and that kind of thing, I think the three of us, we've agreed that they're not, they're going to have a, a, a nice price on them. You see, you're going to have to be sure that you really want it, you know, and then just, even if you have the money, even if you can afford the price that we put on them, that doesn't mean you're going to get one. That doesn't mean you're going to get a pair like that, because there's a lot of stupid people that have money. You know what I mean? Um,
People
so,
got folio money.
you know, there's I don't want to speak for Blake and Jen or anything like that, but this locality means a whole lot to us. Um,
Yep.
and being lucky enough to have what we have, and to be able to strengthen the bloodline and just make it better, is a very, very big deal. Um, for us, it is, you know, most definitely. So, you know, uh, we're there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing, you know. Therefore, you know, once again, it's not about the money, and the price tag that we will be putting on them is to deter some of that shit.
Well,
You
and
know
I
what I mean?
even thought we've talked about, well, I know he's brought it up to you too, but even doing some kind of a contract situation, you know, like I'm honestly surprised you don't see it in the reptile community more. If you work with any other type of animal, dogs, cats, hedgehogs, like you run into contracts. And, you know, part of that is we don't want to see these turn into, I love retics, but the community is so just overran with, you know, everybody's breeding them. There's so many of them. And like we just kind of don't want to see that happen with these guys. They're big, they need proper homes. And, um, you know, I think that that can help kind of protect it a little bit as well. So that's something we've kind of talked about a little bit.
There's a lot of the bigger name keepers that have been on videos claiming that, oh, they talk to people, they make sure they can do it and everything else. And there's a lot of big breeders that sold to a couple that just got sentenced to life in prison when their home was investigated, and most of the animals were dead or in 20-gallon tanks crammed
I
in there.
remember seeing that. Yep.
Yeah.
And this happens all the time to this day. And even those great popular keepers keep saying they check people out. They just don't sell to anybody. but yet they end up in hands all the time. It's all a bunch of BS. They just are in it for money and pumping out babies.
There's going to be, once we actually are to a point where we're able to produce babies again, there's going to be a lot of people pissed off at us.
Nah, there's gonna be much love.
Hey, fuck them if they can't take a joke. I mean, but like Chip said, it's that couple that Chip was talking about. There's a lot of pictures that if you dig, that are on the internet with these people with their arms around them and shit.
I may or may not have all those pictures.
And
from what I understand, you may or may not have a library of pictures.
Where's the go-to here?
The story that I've been hearing, right? You are the encyclopedia of pictures of reptile-related.
I just find it fun. I kind of just keep them in my back pocket because I just watch how this community goes and likes to talk and likes to put on a good show. And I honestly don't have anything on you guys. I haven't heard anything bad. If I did, James would have known about
it. we mostly, for the most part, didn't exist until we produced Sulas.
I knew about you guys beforehand.
We, like a lot of people, aspire to, be that, make a business breeding snakes and selling snakes and all that. And we hit one good solid year of, I think we produced like 100 babies and realized that everybody else produced 100 babies and just the state of it. And we immediately after that year, like it was a sobering thing. And I was like, we need to take a step back and we need to rethink what we're doing. And, because we don't want to contribute to it, like we talked about it at length, the wife and I have, James and I have, just the state of everything, like ball pythons, just reptiles in general. And the sheer number of animals that are produced in this country every year, I mean, it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands of animals. A lot of which,
dead.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of which, and snakes in particular are long-lived animals. It's not like hedgehogs are a 3 to 5 year animal, and then they pass on and they do their thing. But snakes, for the most part, are like a 20-year animal. So where are these thousands and thousands and thousands of animals going? And what's happening to them? Because there's no way that they're all being taken care of the way that they need to be taken care of. And
they're going from hand to hand to hand.
Exactly.
And then eventually dying.
Exactly. And eventually it runs out. And we came to a point where we decided that we don't want to contribute to that. We love the animals and, like everybody else, it's awesome to breed them. It's awesome to see what you get out of the eggs. It's exciting and all that kind of stuff. But
you have to think about the whole picture, that part's exciting. But like he said, where do they all go in the end? And I don't feel like, especially for those ones that get really big, I just don't feel like there's enough, I guess, able-bodied homes for them. I mean,
capable keepers for like giant constrictors. It's not like keeping a ball python. It's not like dealing with a ball python. I used to get people all the time when I would bring Delilah, our big 19-foot tiger female, to reptile rallies or school events or anything of that nature. And they're like, oh, I need that. I'm like, yeah, you need that until you see her piss a lake and shit a loaf of bread. And you might change your mind if you need that or not. Or, the day that she has a bad day and you get that wide open mouth that looks like it engulf you whole, and you would probably really suddenly change your train of thought, like it's not for everybody. It's not like you have to really want to do this. It has to be something that you're truly passionate about and that you truly love, or it's just going to be a ditch down or a dead end. So.
I mean, and the sad thing about it is that I know it's like apples and oranges and whatnot, but even ball pythons and other species of reptiles, the majority of them are probably ending up dead because even animals that are supposedly easier to take care of because of their size and whatnot, people are not taking, proper care of them.
Well,
So,
even to the feeders, if the feeders like what it costs, for us, and we're pretty minimal, but around the feeders for us is anywhere from about $800 to $1,000 around, and that's only a few months worth of feeders. I mean, I don't know if people understand what they're getting into even on that front. When you're like, oh, well, I've got like 30 ball pythons, that's a lot of rats, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of work, that's a lot of tubs to clean, that's a lot of feeders to buy. So
yes, sir.
Well, you have to think of the vet care aspect of it too. You've got all these animals, like, can you provide vet care for them when they need vet care? And I think that that's something a lot of people don't take into consideration. So they've got all these animals that they're trying to buy feeders and care for, and then they don't have the money when they need to go to the vet, so they don't get proper care on that front. And it's just, yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
a
mean,
long list. It really is, and I'm really happy that you guys think that way because the majority of this large constrictor hobby does not. No matter what people want to buy into, and it's terrible what has become of it. And has it always been around? Like James always reminds me, sure. But now we're in social media days. You've got influencers and people that are teaching the wrong things to the wrong people, and it's a never-ending cycle. And it's absolutely horrible to see. And I don't need to post because I don't need likes. I care about my animals. I think of every different thing that goes on with each individual animal. And just like you, I don't need to contribute to the problem. I don't need to breed my animals. Certain people say you should. Oh, well, I don't care what you think. I don't need to. They're my pets. And I interact with them. If you don't interact with your animals except for during breeding season or take a picture, why even have it?
yeah,
exactly. It's amazing how many people that are in this hobby, and not just large constrictors, but reptile hobby in general, that it's just a shock and awe type thing. You know what I mean?
it's a
There,
passing fad.
yeah, there's a lot of people that have these animals that are scared to death of them.
A lot.
What are you doing? God damn it. Go buy a Chihuahua and shut the fuck up.
Them things are terrifying. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, man. It's just ridiculous because at the end of the day, you got to have you should be responsible, and that goes with anything that you're doing in life. Anything, especially if you're going to be reproducing something. I don't care if it's dogs. I don't care what kind of animal it is. Hell, I don't care if it's humans. You got to be responsible. You know what I mean? Shit.
You're
Jesus
gonna open a
Christ.
can of worms there.
I'm just saying. There's a lot to it and stuff like that, and just do the right thing. These
Yeah,
these animals are extremely, they're special. The
definitely.
my children have been around this all their lives. My oldest boy is 16, the other one's 14, and they have no fucking clue how lucky they are, how blessed they are. They don't, because they've been around this shit since babies, since they were born. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't speak for y'all or anybody else, but I'm truly blessed to be able to do what I do and have what I have and be able to work with these animals. It's truly amazing. And I think a lot of people who got into this had that type of mindset, you know. Um,
Yeah.
something something happened somewhere, you know, and uh greed is a hell of a thing, man.
It
Whether
is
it's
that.
money, where it's cash money or the animal itself, you know, because unfortunately, even if you don't look at these animals, like they're a dollar, like a dollar sign, like they're money, you know, we have a lot of us have animals that are worth a lot of money. So people look at them like that, and it changes them. So
Mhm.
they start doing things for the wrong reason and stuff. But like I said, everybody that has them, they should. I mean, I can't tell them how to feel and what to think, but maybe they need to take a deep breath, step back, and just, do you realize what you're doing? Do you realize what you have? And we're such a small group of people, you know. Like I tell my boys, I'm like, who the fuck do you know that has reticulated pythons? Who the fuck do you even know that honestly knows what a reticulated python is? You know,
Yeah.
or where they come from or anything. You know, majority of people, a snake is a snake. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small, where it comes from, or anything like that. Like they have no idea. They don't realize how lucky they are to have this in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, real
Yeah.
quick, guys. Is there anything that you want to talk about or get off your chest or let anybody know about you guys?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I think we're covering a lot of it, yeah. But the discussion that we have just been having has been a lot of our personal discussion and our decisions with our collection, and what's going on, and um, we've chosen to downsize retics immensely. I guess sort of now we're kind of building back into an important project,
We're
but
being a lot more selective about what we're working with. So,
it's this whole thing to me feels like a very important project. I know to us it feels like a very important project here in the states, and other than that, we're cutting everything back and kind of going in that direction and changing things up. But
Well,
that honestly has been our biggest, most important discussion. Like I said, we're mostly nobodies. A lot of nobody really knows us, and I personally have stayed out of the drama and the most of the world that has been the reptile industry for a long time. I've never really been a part of it. I'm kind of like you, Mr. Chip. So you know, uh, I just do my thing and enjoy my animals and all that kind of stuff. And
I don't spend a whole lot of time in the
until
groups. And
until the last couple of years, like I've been trying to bring, I guess, some more light with our business page on Facebook and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, trying to figure out how to work it differently. As but we're just excited about this project, and we're excited about our change of direction, and excited to see where it all goes. So
and I just want to say that, I agree with y'all 100%. I feel like this is definitely, I feel like it's important. It's important to our hobbies, important to the locality that we, here in the states, especially in the United States of Texas. Holla, shut up, Chip. Uh, you know, and I think what we're doing is a good thing, and you know, I, it is what it is. We're very lucky to have what we have and be part of this and do what we're doing and you know, we'll do our best to share it with the world or whatnot, you know, but you know,
responsibly.
we're gonna,
Responsibly, yes.
well, I say that, but you know, the thing about it is that we all have the same mindset on what we want to do with them, and how we want to move forward with the project and whatnot. And you know, I've said, you know, from day one, and in a lot of the videos that we've done, you know, everybody has a right to own a retic, but not everybody you know, needs a retic. You know what I mean? So, and that goes with a
Yep.
lot of shit. There's a lot of people shouldn't even have a fucking goldfish. Uh,
I agree.
but you know, I think if y'all don't have Chip, you want to add anything? You want to?
No, I really enjoyed this. I'm happy I got to learn a little bit more about you guys. It's really good to hear the direction that you guys chose. Um, and I hope people will watch this and get more influence. So it's not just me and James with this mindset. And hopefully this can grow into something bigger with more people getting on this wavelength.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping.
So
Well, I'm gonna say just a couple things and then we'll cut it, you know, down. Like, so Charles Malone, he come on and he said he wanted to say hi to everybody and whatnot. He's coming all the way from he's watching all the way from Dublin, Ireland. So that's pretty cool. And you know, there's a couple people, especially when it comes to this locality or in other localities. I wish there was a way that we can get them to open up, you know, and because you know, like we've talked about being part of, you know, trying to educate and whatnot, and people can do whatever they want to do, you know, but I feel like it's a shame to have knowledge and good knowledge about certain things and not share it. You know what I mean? Like I
agree.
I don't understand that because I
it
think
helps no one if it goes nowhere.
it's a piss poor excuse, in my opinion. It's just my opinion, but I think because there's bad apples or there's people who don't give a shit, that's a piss poor excuse to not share knowledge and educate people, because there's more people that want to learn about certain things. You know, I've never been. you know, it'll be. You know, it's a dream to like go to Indonesia. You know, and go to certain islands and see certain localities in the wild. You know, and stuff like that. And you know, there's a very good possibility that's never going to happen. That I'm never going to be able to do that. But there's others that are very lucky. You know, lucky enough to be able to do that and stuff. And they have a lot of hands-on knowledge when it comes to certain localities and whatnot. And I don't know. It is what it is. Everybody has the right to think, you know, however they want to think and whatnot. But like I said, it's like being a teacher and not wanting to fucking teach because you have a couple, you know, asshole kids. The fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. That being said, once again, thank you everybody who is watching, who's going to watch this. Thank you for all the support. Please subscribe, like, hit the bell, do all that shit that everybody else says on YouTube. Hit Chip and I up if y'all want to hear us talk about something or you want us to bring somebody on, that kind of thing. And again, US art people, please support them. They all that we have. Our hobby's going to shit. It really is. And they literally that's who we have. The try to help us with our rights and whatnot. Donate, become a member, support however you can, spread the word. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Jen, Chip, everybody. We're gonna call it a wrap. Thank you for your time. And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Later.
Bye.